Once, in the heart of a vast and golden savannah called Zulka, an unwritten law of friendship ruled the land. This wasn't a place of dense forests, but of tall yellow grass that danced in the wind, and mighty baobab trees that stood like ancient guardians. Here, under the blazing African sun, all animals lived in relative peace, sharing the few water sources that survived even the harshest droughts. But one year, nature decided to test their resolve. The familiar rains never came. Instead, a terrible period of sandstorms and unbearable heat descended upon them. The sky turned a grim gray with dust, and for 3 days and 3 nights the sun scorched the land without mercy. The grass withered to a crisp, and the smaller animals burrowed deep into the earth, too afraid to venture out. In the center of this parched savanna lived a proud pair of zebras, Zaro and Sita. They were known throughout Zulka for their stunning black and white stripes and their lightning-fast hooves. One sweltering afternoon, as the fierce wind whipped up clouds of grit, they rested under the shade of an old baobab. Zita gazed into the distance, where the horizon blurred into a dusty haze. She sighed, her voice heavy with worry. "Zaro, this heat hasn't let up for 3 days. The water in our spring has almost vanished, and the other animals are growing too weak to search for a new one." Zaro looked at her, his own concern mirrored in his eyes. "You're right, Zita. If we don't help each other now, many will suffer. I have to go check on our neighbors, the elderly antelopes and the young giraffes. We must see who needs help the most." Despite the howling wind and the sand that stung his eyes, Zaro set off on his trek across the savannah. He was determined to help his friends, but he didn't know that, from the high rocks nearby, a hungry gaze was following his every move. There, hidden in the stone's shadow, was an old, cunning lion named Scar. Scar hadn't eaten for days. The storm had made hunting impossible, and he was at the very edge of his strength. When he saw the lone zebra bravely making his way through the dust, his amber eyes flashed with a predatory light. Finally, Scar thought to himself, a low growl rumbling in his chest, "The prey comes to me." The lion began to creep silently through the tall, dry grass. He was a master of stealth, using the roar of the wind to mask the sound of his paws. But Zaro's senses were sharp. A subtle shift in the air, a scent carried on the wind, told him that danger was near. He whipped his head around, just in time to see Scar tensing his powerful muscles, coiling for a leap. Without a second's hesitation, he ran with all his might, his hooves kicking up dust as he raced back toward the safety of the baobab tree. The lion, though hungry and exhausted, was incredibly fast. The chase was desperate. The loose sand made every step a struggle, and the swirling dust made it nearly impossible to see. Zaro could feel the lion gaining on him, could almost feel hot breath on his heels. Just as Scar prepared to make his final, deadly strike, launching himself forward with claws extended, Zita saw everything from under the tree. She didn't panic. She didn't run. Instead, she let out a loud, piercing cry, a desperate call for help that echoed across the entire savannah, cutting through the sound of the wind. And in that moment, something incredible happened. Instead of cowering in their burrows and hiding places, the animals of Zulka responded. From all corners of the plain, they began to emerge. A herd of elephants, led by their wise old matriarch, started to march heavily toward the lion. their massive feet making the ground shake like an earthquake. A group of small meerkats popped up from their tunnels, chattering and emitting loud, sharp noises to confuse the predator. The giraffes, standing tall, straightened their long necks and began to stump their powerful hooves against the dry earth, creating a thunderous rhythm of defiance. Scar stopped dead in his tracks. He was bewildered. He saw that before him stood not just one vulnerable zebra, but an entire army. An army of different animals, all standing together to protect their friend. He realized that a single lion, no matter how strong or cunning, could never defeat an entire savannah when it was united. With his head bowed and a humiliated gaze, Scar slowly backed away. He turned and disappeared into the distance, swallowed by the dust of the very storm he had tried to use to his advantage. Zaro was safe, and a wave of profound relief washed over the animals of Zulka. They had faced down their greatest fear, not with claws or teeth, but with courage and unity. After this day, everything changed. Even Scar, the fierce lion, learned a vital lesson, that selfishness and preying on the weak leads only to loneliness and defeat. The animals of Zulka became even closer than before. They had always been neighbors, but now they were a true community. They learned that their difference is the immense size of the elephant, the incredible speed of the zebra, the towering height of the giraffe, and even the small but loud voice of the meerkat were not weaknesses. When joined together, these differences became an unbreakable shield, a source of incredible power. The moral of this story is clear and eternal. Unity is the greatest source of strength. When we stand together, supporting one another, even the biggest storms and the most fearsome enemies become powerless against us. Our collective strengths will always be greater than our individual fears. If you enjoyed this story from the heart of the savannah, please subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Your support helps us create many more stories like this one, filled with adventure and timeless lessons. Thanks for watching.